For as long as I can remember, it's been the golden rule of PC gaming, right? If you want to play real games, you need a real dedicated graphics card. That little graphics chip built into your processor, yeah, that was for showing your desktop and maybe running a spreadsheet. It was pretty much useless for gaming. But what if that's not true anymore? What if that's all about to change?
So that brings us to the big question for today. We're going to look at what happens when you pit the world's most powerful integrated GPU against a legit desktop card, the NVIDIA RTX 4060. I mean, this is the card that tons of people buy for their gaming rigs. It's a classic David versus Goliath story, but for computer hardware. And the results? Well, they're going to surprise you.
All right, so just to make sure we're all on the same page, let's do a super quick rundown. An iGPU, that's integrated graphics, it lives on the same piece of silicon as your main processor, your CPU. It's compact, it sips power, and it has to share your regular system RAM. Then you've got the DGPU, the dedicated card. It's a whole separate beast on its own giant circuit board with its own super fast memory called VRAM. Its one and only job is to crank out frames as fast as humanly possible.
Okay, let's introduce the contenders. And this isn't just some theoretical exercise with numbers on a spreadsheet. No, we're looking at a real-world cage match between a tiny, high-end mini PC and a full-fat, traditional desktop gaming rig. Two very different machines. One big question: who's faster? So check out these two setups. On one side, our challenger, a mini PC rocking AMD's new Radeon 860S integrated graphics. It's paired with a new Ryzen AI chip and a frankly insane 128 gigs of RAM. In the other corner, the champ, a desktop with that RTX 4060 and a monster Intel Core i9 processor. Now here's the really important part. The integrated GPU was set up to use 8 gigabytes of that system RAM as its own video memory to go head-to-head with the 8 gigs of dedicated VRAM on the 4060. Now I know what you might be thinking. Wait a minute, a Core i9 against a mobile Ryzen chip? That doesn't seem fair at all. And you're right to ask, but here's the thing. It's designed that way on purpose. Both CPUs are so ridiculously powerful that they're basically just chilling, waiting for the graphics processor to catch up. This means both the iGPU and the DGPU are being pushed to their absolute 100% limit. It's a pure GPU fight. All right, enough talk. The stage is set. Let's get to the games. For our first round of tests, things pretty much go exactly how everyone would expect them to. The big desktop card comes out, and it is not messing around. First up, we're hitting the streets of Night City in Cyberpunk 2077. And honestly, the integrated 860S puts up a heck of a fight, pulling a super smooth 70 frames per second at 1080p high. That's really impressive on its own. But yeah, the RTX 4060 is just on another level, cruising at 95 FPS. That's a clear win for the dedicated card. Next, let's try some GTA V with all the fancy ray tracing effects turned on. Once again, the 860S does great. 81 FPS is fantastic, but the 4060 has specialized hardware just for ray tracing, and it absolutely crushes it, hitting a blistering 118 FPS. In fact, the absolute worst performance on the 4060 was still better than the average on the iGPU. Yikes. And to wrap up this first round, we've got Red Dead Redemption 2. It's the same story all over again. A very, very playable 78 FPS from the integrated chip, but the RTX 4060 just sails past it to hit a clean 100 FPS. So 3 games down, and it's a total shutout for the dedicated card. No surprises at all, or is there? Okay, if you're thinking, I get it, the desktop card wins, this is boring, you need to hold on tight. Because this is the exact moment where our little story takes a hard left turn into some really unexpected territory. The underdog is about to punch back. Hard. The next game on our list is Borderlands 4. Now, this title is kind of notorious for being a little weird. It can be really tough on lower-end hardware. It's the perfect place to see if we can find any chinks in the RTX 4060's armor. So after getting swept in the first 3 games, the question is pretty simple. Can the little integrated 860S even manage to get close? Can it make this a real competition? And there it is, the upset of the year. The integrated Radeon GPU doesn't just close the gap, it wins. It flat out wins. We're looking at 56 frames per second on average, which is actually higher than the desktop RTX 4060. I'm going to say that again. An integrated GPU beat a dedicated 40 series graphics card. This is wild. And the crazy thing is, it wasn't just about the average frame rate. The 860S also had better percentile lows. Now, what that means in plain English is that the game felt smoother.
There were fewer of those annoying stutters and sudden frame drops. So in this game, the little iGPU didn't just win on paper. It actually provided a better, more consistent experience.
Okay, but was that just a fluke? A one-time thing? Let's find out with the Outer Worlds 2. And nope, it happened again. The Radeon 86S pulls ahead, 69 FPS to the 4060's 63. This isn't an accident anymore. This is a pattern. Now, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 gives us a much more interesting result. It's kind of a split decision. On one hand, the iGPU is technically faster, with a higher average of 92 FPS. But on the other hand, the RTX 4060 was more consistent, with better lows, so it felt a little smoother. It's a trade-off. But the simple fact that we are even having this conversation is absolutely mind-blowing.
All right, let's just take a second. After those absolutely shocking results, we have to figure out what is actually going on. What does this all mean for the future of building and buying gaming PCs? Let's break it down.
The final verdict is crystal clear. We have just witnessed a massive turning point. We now have proof that a modern integrated GPU can, under the right circumstances, go toe-to-toe with a very popular, very capable desktop graphics card. And sometimes it can even win. The old rules are officially out the window.
But, and this is a really, really big but, before we all get too excited and declare the dedicated graphics card dead, there is a giant catch. This incredible new power does not come cheap, not even close. And here's the crucial piece of context. The YouTuber who ran these tests, Random Gaming in HD, made it very clear. The mini PC that has this amazing iGPU in it costs a lot more money than a standard desktop with an i7 and an RTX 4060. So for right now, this revolutionary performance is locked inside a very premium, very expensive product. So what's the real takeaway from all this? First, integrated graphics are not a joke anymore. They have taken an absolutely monumental leap forward. Second, they are now a totally legitimate way to play games at 1080p. The biggest problem is the price tag. But here's the most important part. What we're seeing today in this expensive chip is a preview of the future. This kind of technology will eventually make its way down into cheaper, more mainstream processors for everyone. And all of this leaves us with one final massive question to think about. If this is the kind of performance we can now get from a chip that's built right into the CPU, do we even need cheap entry-level graphics cards anymore? Are we watching the beginning of the end for that whole market? Because if this trend continues, the future of budget PC gaming is going to look very, very different.